As promised, we are bringing you today part 2 of our 3-part series, Authenticity in Marriage. I hope you enjoy. Today you will learn, if you listen very intently, you will learn the importance of listening to the voice of God and how we don't have to lose ourselves in tweaking the way we do things with our partner or spouse, and just the importance, again, of listening to the Word of God and learning each other's love language. I hope you enjoy.
You know, I heard one person say you can't talk yourself out of problems you behave yourself into. And I try to do that a whole lot. I try to do that a whole lot. You know, hey, baby, this, or, you know, I didn't mean
not
it.
That girl.
Or whatever the case might be, and that just doesn't work.
With me. Some girls it does.
Unfortunately, you're right. Some girls it does. But the big thing I can say, the main thing I can say is, you know, we got to where we are by the grace of God.
We didn't. Okay, I have to interject there because when you came to me, I told you to leave. And I know that's not what you were wanting to hear or expected to hear. I'm like, I'm out. That's fine. You aren't a paycheck because I had your children. You couldn't have more children. It wasn't a fact that I owned you. It was just like, it wasn't about that for me. I have degrees. I don't need your paycheck. And I told you that. So that was not the reaction I knew you wanted. Yeah. But that's the only reaction I knew to give because it was authentic. It's what I felt. I'm not going to be second rate to anyone. And I knew I didn't do that to you. So for me, I told you that out of a natural reaction. But that might have been the flesh, but that's just who I am in the flesh. Spiritually, God told me weeks later, because it's not like we were blissfully happy after that. We were separated. I remember sleeping in separate rooms. I remember just, honest to God, that 90-day time frame saved our life with the divorce, because in that 90 days in the state of Indiana, before you get to file, I did a lot of praying, and I listened to that voice. So if I had a relationship with Christ, or if I didn't, we would be divorced. Yeah. He told me why you did it, although it didn't matter to me that you did, or why. He also told me how I could just tweak me for you to be more receptive of that. So I came back and said, the way I said it before, if you recall the conversation in the basement after the yelling and screaming stopped, is I know you don't love this person, and this is why I'm the most hurt. I don't want to give up, but at the same time, I don't trust you, and this is why. And and I basically came to you with the words God gave me, understanding more of what you needed to hear. And to me, that went against everything that I stood for, because being an independent, strong woman, I shouldn't have to tell you that. Because every day I wake up, I go to work, I take care of the kids, I take care of the house, take care of the bills, the groceries, the lawn. I was doing all of that while being sick. Yeah. And if that doesn't tell you anything, but God quickly snapped into my mind, all that does for you is tell you how much I don't need you there. Because those are the things that you want to do for me. So I kind of relinquished some of those things to you, but that was my way of telling you, I want you to know I'm doing this for you. So I didn't have to soften and weaken my facade or my personality or anything. I just listened to the voice of God and kind of tweaked what he was telling me that you needed to hear. Yeah. So it kind of blended our love language. And that's what this lesson did, is it truly taught me to communicate with you in the language that you hear and read, in the way that I can express it.
Do you remember even maybe, I don't know if it was before this or even after this, where I used to always come to you and tell you that you should be better off without me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. And I said you would be better off being married to someone what I call weaker, and I would name a couple names that we're not going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think part of me is like, almost, I don't know if it was a sabotage thing. It's like I felt like there was an inevitable thing going to happen anyway. And it's like, this is, quote, too good to be true. And at any moment it's all going to fall apart. So why not just, quote, pull the plug on it now? And I would just be like, why don't you just leave me and just go? Because I knew there was so much that came with me. And although a lot of you don't maybe perceive that or know that, but Shanda, unfortunately, she, there's a lot that she had to take on just being married to me. I've come from a big family. Most of you know that. There's in-laws. There's just such a dynamic. And then, unfortunately, there was a dynamic even within me that I hadn't really dealt with. I'll admit I was a mama's boy. I will admit that although we were poor growing up, I felt in many aspects I was spoiled. I felt in many aspects, I was the favorite, and some of my family, unfortunately, kind of helped feed that, and I appreciate that they loved me, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to say they put me on a pedestal, but I feel like to some degree they had me in this area that I guess I kind of believed the headlines, so to speak, about myself, and I tried my best to try to live up to this personage, this image that I felt like people needed to see and they expected to see when they thought of who is Jeffrey Lee. And I wanted to be this good Christian guy that, took care of his family and, had this, whatever it might be. I wanted to live up to that image. And as a result, there was still this other aspect of who I was that I was fighting inside, and I wasn't able to be honest with myself, and therefore I wasn't honest with her about feelings I had, issues that I was dealing with, things in my mind, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, fears I had that I was afraid to speak up about because, I'm a man, I'm not supposed to feel that way, or I've got to be in control, whatever it might be. And so, sometimes we do things to sabotage our own relationship because we fear being authentic with people. And that's one aspect that with our lives right now that, we are both working on. Not only I'll just be honest with you, she's almost always been authentic. She's very clear and she's to the point in many aspects. But, me, unfortunately, that's the baggage I brought to this relationship, was the fact that I wasn't that way. I wasn't naturally authentic,
You were never, okay, how do I say this tactfully? I don't think you were ever taught to be. It was
you're right.
always this image that you had to pull, like you said. And I don't know what happened to you growing up or what dynamic, because I wasn't there, but you came to me, and the man that I saw was this strong, vivacious leader. But you acted like a follower and a weaker vessel, weaker Venn, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And almost like you didn't deserve someone like me. And I never understood that because I thought that I didn't feel that way, but I knew that I could become the woman that you deserved. Softer, more spiritual, whatever. So it's like you never viewed yourself in the eyes as the man that I ever saw you to be. Honestly, up until probably the last year, you never even did. As the leader, everyone to this day thinks I lead, and I only do it, and we both know because you weren't doing it.
Yeah.
Someone had to do it. We both can't, just be the friend of the kids or whatever. And if we're being authentic and real, because again, it's the only way I know how to be for the most part. I hold stuff back, but it's just because people don't want to hear certain things. But I changed religions, I changed dress, I changed friends, and I've done all these things to be submissive. But you weren't leading, and when you never viewed yourself as that strong man, I never understood that. Yeah. And I understood why you did what you did with this individual, this emotional attachment, which is worse to me than a physical, because she was weak. She was that damsel in distress. But I knew I could never be that because I would be lying to myself. I would be giving my girls an image that was so wrong. Yeah. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for you to see yourself not in the way that you were brought up, not in the way maybe your family viewed you or the world viewed you, but of the way that I saw you, because I truly feel that I saw you through the eyes of God, the man you're supposed to be, the man you're honestly finally starting to become.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was my biggest thing, and I think I could take comfort in that. It wasn't about me. It wasn't even really about the disconnect in our marriage. It was simply about you learning how strong you really are and that you deserve me, and me learning to in a way, soften up and open up in a different way. Like, it goes back to the love languages, in a different way of communication. Because like I said before, doing all the work was not impressing you or showing you. I had to cry. I had to do whatever. I had to be more expressive verbally and let you in on things instead of just doing. And then, we to this day, we still struggle with you taking the lead. It's not like I haven't been trying to get you to do that.
No, that's very true. And even when I think about growing up, I always looked at leading as just working hard. And that's one thing I always saw my dad do, is he was always a hard worker. And I equated that to being a leader. And even though hard work is needed and necessary, you need to take care of your family. But that obviously did not correlate immediately to all aspects of being a leader and really trying to take those roles, as a man and as a husband. And it not so much just because of male dominance or anything like that. It was more just the fact of number one, us just trying to be more of a helpmate to each other. And unfortunately, I'll admit, I let you carry the vast majority of that burden for 20 years of our marriage, really, really more. But, and so in many aspects, I have before, but, I have to apologize to you because I haven't been that leader in many aspects. Now, granted, I was the spiritual person a lot, because I grew up that way. And so, I was that Bible thumper person for a long time as well. And then, but at the same time, God had to change me and mature me that way as well, because that's not just leading either. Definitely you want your kids to learn about Christ and to be Christ-centered as much as you can, and obviously at some point they have to make the decision for themselves.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed the second part of our authenticity in marriage. We are bringing this out not to brag or boast, because there's nothing to brag about in situations like this. We are trying to teach others not to give up on their significant other, not to give up on their marriage, and honestly, just to bring to light that no marriage is perfect at any time, and through the grace of God and listening to His Word and His voice, you can overcome anything. God bless.